Hey, so as some of you guys might know, I'm a music teacher, and I found that one of the best ways that I can process the whole transition to online learning and teaching is to write a song. So I wrote a song. I'd like to share that with you guys now. Here we go.
She is my absolute new internet crush, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Lizzie Smith. She's makeshift macaroni on TikTok and elsewhere, and she's from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And who doesn't love Tennessee women? Drew Carey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, man. I so appreciate
How you doing?
it.
Yeah,
I'm doing
that
great.
TikTok's been flying around.
I know, isn't it crazy?
Yeah, I've had like several people send me that one.
She did an interview with the television station there with LVT in Nashville. And she said, "Yeah, I got a phone call one morning. My friend says, you're on television in Australia." And she's like, "I had no idea, but she's my new internet crush, without a doubt."
That's
Drew
brilliant.
Carey, everybody. And today we're talking
Hi.
about teachers. I want you to pay attention to the hashtag teachfromhome.com and also the URL teachyourcourseonline.com. We've got some people already signed up. Jewel Greenberg is here. Jennifer Selke is here. Debbie McLeod is here. Bruce is here. Joel Comm is here. I mean, there's just all these people loving the opening. And, I thought to myself, what can I do with this time that none of us saw coming? None of us thought, okay, we're going to be spending March and April twiddling
No,
our
not
thumbs
at
at
all,
home.
man. Whew.
What was that?
Not at all. This like really is so sudden. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I remember seeing some articles about how people in history in the same situation had taken this time and used it to really great advantage. Shakespeare wrote King Lear while he was in quarantine.
Yeah, well, good for Shakespeare.
That's
Good for
right.
him.
You know, I hope
I'm not doing
Shakespeare
it.
I hope Shakespeare catches on. I think at some point maybe that'll
Yeah.
happen.
Way to
Um,
go, Shakespeare.
yeah. Um, the calculus was created by Isaac Newton.
Yeah.
What would we
Yeah.
do without calculus? Um, and I thought, what can I do during this time? I mean, there's a lot of things we can do. And in fact, I don't know if it's the same with you, but people have been said, yeah, I've got all this time, but I feel like I'm busier than ever. Do you feel that way?
Well, you know why Shakespeare and those guys did all that great stuff? Because they didn't have Netflix and you know they didn't have a TV set right in their living room and a phone with friends texting and sending them memes every 5 minutes that they had to answer. It seems to be all these distractions that are getting in the way of my productivity. Really think I could be like way more productive if I didn't have. I need to shut down and take a vacation from the pandemic.
Good luck with that. Good luck
Yeah,
with that. Yeah, if Shakespeare had Tiger King, who knew? Who knew what
yeah,
could happen, right?
yeah. There wouldn't be that.
Um, yeah. So, yeah, Christian says they didn't have the distractions. The distractions in those days were how to empty the pot. That pot
Oh
that would,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, they had to go get water from the well and all that stuff.
exactly.
Yeah,
So I thought, what can I do during this time? And when I found out that teachers were being sent home and told on the way out the door, basically, just keep teaching from home. Keep
yeah.
teaching your classes. We're not going to shut the school system down. We're shutting the school building down, but not the school system. Please, teach from home. And
Yeah,
no
so easy to
training.
do. So easy. Anybody could just like open their computer. It's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like it wasn't just one person that told me this. It was like maybe four or five all at once. And it was kind of like, I'm not a woo-woo guy, but this was one of those moments where I thought, okay, maybe the universe is talking to me because I know how to do this, right? I've been
Yeah,
teaching voiceover and on camera for, God, a decade or more
I
from
am
home.
can I just say, I'm frankly amazed and impressed that you even have our names at the bottom of the screen and the logo, and you've done all this graphic stuff just while we're talking here.
Oh,
Like,
Drew,
to
I
me,
didn't.
that's
Wait.
incredible.
I'd love to actually take credit for having done it immediately right now, but I actually spent some time yesterday setting this up. So
No, but I mean that you could take the time to set it up and it's happening. I don't
yeah,
care.
yeah,
It might have been, I don't think you're doing a production thing in your computer,
yeah.
but
No,
something was in the works and you were able to set it up and have it ready.
yeah.
You hit a
So
couple F1 buttons or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah,
I, this is what I do. This is like
that's,
my voiceover. What were you going to say? Sorry.
you can see how technical I am.
Yeah, you are. That's right. Yeah, Drew. Yes, we did a rehearsal, and Drew like pulls his microphone into frame, and he goes, "I don't know what this is," and I'm like, "It's an RE20." It's like, that's great. That's perfect framing, man. Absolutely perfect. It's like this whole notion of teaching from home, because I've got clients all over the world. I have to teach from home. I have to teach online.
How did you know this was an RE20 microphone?
Because I know the microphone, the shape, and the grill, and I've used RE20s for about 35 years. And
Oh, is that how long they've been around?
RE20s have been around since I think the 60s or 70s.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a classic microphone. You got Drew does a show on Sirius XM on Friday nights, Underground Garage.
That's right.
Yeah, and so you can listen to him tomorrow night. It's at 9 Eastern.
It's 5 to 8 Pacific time, 8 to 11 on the East Coast.
8 to 11, got it.
On
Okay.
Sirius Channel 21, Underground Garage, and it's rock and roll. If you don't like rock and roll, don't bother. And I only talk like 5 minutes an hour. I just tell you what songs you heard, but I pick all the songs, so it's a really like labor of love for me. I do every week, picking out all the songs. Yeah.
Yeah, I called him the other night, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm in the middle of setting up my sets. Can I talk to you, talk to you later?" Jennifer says, "I love Drew, always so real. Love you." Meredith Stewart says, "Hubby says RE20s have been around since 1968."
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
All right.
And I know that I know her husband really well.
Should have bought a used one.
He would have looked that up. He can't let that go.
Yeah, I don't know why people don't look stuff up on their phone more often when it's like right there.
Yeah.
And people are like, I wonder what the thing, and I'm just look it up on Ask Siri. You can find out anything. It's like having the Alexandria Library at your fingertips or something.
Exactly. So let me ask you a question about that.
Sure.
You've told the story many times on the air, not about how we met, but how you say I gave you your start in comedy.
Yes.
I think you are being so kind there. But I asked you to write jokes for my show, my radio show.
So what happened was I was working in a restaurant, and I was a waiter. It was a fancy restaurant, and I had got into an honest dispute with the owner. I'm not complaining about this guy. This guy's trying to save his business. And suddenly I fell out of favor, and I was suddenly getting like lunch shifts instead of dinner shifts.
This was Sammy's, right?
Yeah, I don't want to even say, because this guy doesn't deserve it. The whole family doesn't. They're really nice people, and they don't deserve any grief. But it was a fancy restaurant in Cleveland. And but lunch shifts don't pay as well in tips as dinner shifts. And when I did work the occasional dinner shift, I would get like the worst section where I would make the least amount of money. So I was worried about making money. And I was like, oh man, this is like cutting into my dough. And I was friends with you from earlier, and you were working in Connecticut at the time.
Yep, yeah. KC 101.
And we were on the phone together, and I was telling you my woes about, I'm getting screwed at work, and my shifts aren't blah, blah, blah. And you said, why don't you write jokes for my show? I'll pay you.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Exactly. And I said, oh, really? How much? And you offered me you said, I don't know, $10 or $15 a joke, which was like standard. And I thought, oh, okay. And I thought after we got done calling, I thought, I bet I could make an extra $100 a week by selling David Lawrence night jokes. So I didn't know how to write jokes though. So I went to the Cleveland Public Library, and I just thought maybe they might have a book on writing jokes. I didn't have any idea. So I went to the library and I found a book in the whole main branch of the Cleveland Public Library on how to write jokes. And I think it was called How to Write Jokes. It was by a British guy. It was a book from the UK. I know that. And it was all about, standard stuff that's in any like list making and doing plays on words and things like that. And it's the first time I ever heard of a formula or a technique rather for writing jokes that every comedian and every comedy writer does, even if it's just in their head, like really quickly. But when you're starting out, you have to get out a pen and a paper and, make all these lists yourself. And I started writing jokes, and then he introduced me to a couple other disc jockeys and who also encouraged me. And that was around October-ish, November. It was around November-ish because it was around the holidays.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I don't want to bag on this guy at the restaurant was because business was bad. And he was under a lot of stress trying to pay the bills. And
Sure.
He had a genuine good reason for being upset with me. I don't want to make it sound like this guy was just out of his mind. That's why I'm trying to protect him a little bit.
No worries.
I made a New Year's resolution to try out these jokes live in front of an audience because I tried doing stand-up before for a little bit. I was really terrible because I didn't know how to write jokes. So I would just get up there with like thoughts that were in my head. Yeah. So I had all these jokes that I wrote and I tried them out the very first open mic night on a Sunday at the local comedy club in Cleveland. I went up there and I did it and I won the amateur night, $50.
There you go.
That was just all by the end. Then by the fall of that year, because I also called up David around the fall. I was having money trouble, and he left work, went downstairs to wire me money so I could pay a gas bill. Do you remember that?
You've reminded me of it, and I hadn't thought about it, but I don't know.
I was going to get my gas cut off because I just started going on the road, and I quit my job. And I was really stuck for money, a little cash flow problem. So David was my rich friend then.
By the way, anytime you need me to cover your gas bill today, you let me know, okay?
Yeah, well, good luck.
But let me talk about that moment for just a second. Let me talk about that moment. And just so you know, I was making minimum wage at the radio station.
I had no idea.
I was making like $4.50 an hour.
Well, anybody working a steady job was doing better than me.
So you cost me more than I made each week, but it was okay because being on the radio meant that I could go to nightclubs and make like $1,000 for an appearance.
Yeah, that was your bread and butter.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
A lot of DJs were doing that.
Absolutely.
Or maybe do that now. Yeah.
So for me, it was a bargain, and I love the idea that you went to the library. Now, talk about that moment for just a second, because you learned something, you were taught something at that moment that was seriously one of the most life-changing things that could ever have happened to you. I don't know how much time you spent sitting at the table at the library looking through the book or bringing it home or whatever, but think about that time that you spent learning from somebody who was teaching you, and go even further back. You just talked about, picking up your phone and dialing into the Library of Alexandria, right?
Yeah.
But somebody taught you, a teacher taught you that the library was a resource that could help you.
Right. Now,
like you could go learn from a book.
Yeah, I've always been a library kid. So like whenever, like first school librarian or whatever, in grade school when we would go to the library and have library time, I think that's where that concept came to me. And then I would always just, I got at my high school library, I would take out just like novels to read, just like paperback books.
Sure.
Besides school stuff. I think I used my school library in high school more for paperback books and just like fiction than studying.
Yeah.
And I was always able to like ride a bike to the local branch of my library in Cleveland. And then on the weekends, at least a couple times a month, I think, I would take a bus downtown to the main branch because that was my favorite. And I would just wander around. kill time. And I would just go to like take a book off, read it at the table, put it back, sometimes check things out. I would check out cassette tapes of music that I didn't have, or like I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
My family didn't have any money, so the library was great. I could get books for free and listen to music for free,
Sure.
as long as I brought it back, and it was really handy. So automatically my first choice is like, oh, I bet the library has something, because they always did. So, and I always learned so much from books, and I actually have a theory that I tell people all about, which is I think I say it as a joke when I'm talking to people at The Price is Right, but we're all teachers, whether we know it or not, or acknowledge it or not. So you're always teaching somebody from your behavior, or what you say, or what you do, or how you live. And you could just be walking down the street or talking to somebody and pass somebody at a mall or a store, and because of what you're doing, somebody else will pick up on that, and they'll learn something like on a micro level from you.
Yeah.
And
well, you've taught me so much.
Well, you too. And it doesn't have to be like, hey, sit down, you're going to learn something right now.
Oh, no. It's just by example, man.
Just by living your life. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, we're all teaching and learning. That's our job here on Earth, teaching and learning. So if you're not teaching somebody, you're learning from somebody else, from their behavior or something they wrote down or something they do. So I try to be, man, I fall so short. I don't want to sound preachy, because I really am like so flawed. But, you want to set that up as, you want to at least be aware of that and mindful of that. So, if you don't want to be an a-hole in traffic, because, you're teaching, you're not always teaching somebody to make a left turn when you honk at them. You could be teaching people to ignore you when you honk the horn.
Yeah.
Everybody gets their own different lessons from you, and you're low-key teaching somebody whether you like it or not, and learning from people whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and that all ties into the project that I wanted to do when I found out that these teachers were being sent home with no prep, no materials, no resources, no training, no equipment, and I had 4 or 5 people tell me, hey, look how you look on camera. You could help them teach better. You could help them pick out their space in their house, how to set up their lights, and how to set up their mic, and how to do all that stuff.
Your lighting is great. My lighting is coming from a window.
and from above. And from above. You look like you're in an industrial plant.
You have a nice background behind you.
Yeah.
And that's good. Like, the rest of your place could be filled with books and trash. Like, who knows? But you have your little space.
It's what Patrick Tucker calls the frame of truth. Right?
Yeah.
What you see is the truth, right? But what you don't see, you don't want to see.
Yeah. I really, can I make a prediction while we're talking about this? While one of these things where I teach you, I think your course is so important. So many people are doing Zoom meetings, and I think just not for teachers, just for people in general that are going to be working from home and have to get on a teleconference, or let's say you have to get on and make a sale to somebody, or tell them why they should be in business with you, or I'm the one to get things done. Do you want them to see your collection of crappy books behind you that they might hate or think that are dumb? And
you start looking at them, and what are the titles of those books? What?
Or laundry or any kind of trash, and think that, I'm going to trust this person with my business and my money and my reputation when they can't take care of themselves. It's an image that you project by how you do this. Like, I use the space just to do radio, so I don't do Skype or anything like that, but I've been doing it so much during the quarantine that I am going to set up a space in my house that's going to be like my video conferencing space with a background. And I think from now on, because people have gotten so used to this, in houses now, there's going to be a little nook.
Yep.
Where it's going to be like your broadcasting nook, or though that's mommy's broadcasting space, or that's daddy's work broadcasting space. And you don't need a lot of space where you can just set up and either have a full frame or just you like this and make it a nice professional looking thing that'll project your idea of professionalism.
Yep.
So today I knew I was going to do this. So I shaved, I wore a collared shirt. I'm also wearing sweatpants.
Are
Who's
you?
gonna see yes. Who's
So
going to see
that's
this?
the number one. That's the number one question that in studio anchors ask reporters at home. Are you wearing pants? And I mean, guys wearing like shirts with ties and jackets, and they're asked the question, and they're like, well, you're not going to ask me to stand up, are you?
Well, we're wearing shorts or whatever. Like, I don't know if honestly, if guys mostly could hark back to their picture day in their college fraternity or high school, where you just have to show up and get like a head and shoulders shot.
Yeah.
And kids would show up in a suit coat and shorts or a swimsuit, and they would just let me put this stupid tie on, and they wouldn't even tie the tie; it would be already tied,
or a clip on,
or clip on, and just take the stupid picture. It's kind of like that concept a little bit, but you want to have something to let everybody know that you. And when you're teaching, especially a class full of people, what you wear and how you present yourself is half the battle to get people to just to get the kids to look at you and pay attention to you.
Sure.
And I forgive the school. You got to forgive the schools for not having anything prepared with nothing, because they didn't know anything was coming either, and everything is so last minute. Yeah. But I mean, I bet that given time, and if they said to the schools, "Hey, in a year this is going to happen," they would have had a plan and had everything worked out. Sure. But it's good that people like you.
When I started the course,
yeah.
When I started the course, at the very beginning, I said, "Look, when you started the school year, you were not thinking, hey, I should figure out how to teach from home because this disaster is coming." Right? You were excited about the school year. You were thinking about the materials you're going to hand out in class, what field trips you were going to go on, all this stuff that's so totally different.
Oh, no, not this kid.
I hope not, but okay. Is that how you felt when you walked into class?
No, when they saw me, they were like, "Oh no, not this kid."
So there's a reason why I put all the different lessons into this course that I put in. I talk about lighting, I talk about cameras, I talk about microphones, I talk about your wardrobe, your makeup, the space where you look in your home. I mean, one of the things I say is, your laundry room was not built for teaching success. It was built for stain removal success.
Yeah.
So, and your kitchen, that's not, but you make do with what you have. And I got some really great advice from one of the attendees today, Jen Selke, who's like a brilliant professor from Berkeley and very much into the teacher space. And she's like, you don't want to make this like, you don't want to make anybody feel inadequate or unhappy or like they don't have the right resources, like they've got to spend money to do this. So one of the things that I do with the course is I help you make the most out of what you've got. So if you have a laptop with a built-in webcam and that's it, I'll show you how to make that look better.
By the way, that's all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah, like right now you have a brick wall behind you, and I don't know, you could be in a basement or something. It doesn't matter. You just need a small area and, make it so. You could take down the painting that's there while you teach and then hang the painting back up when you're done. Something as simple as that. Yeah. Or, hang a blanket or like, I don't know, that's not a good idea.
No, it is. It's a great idea. Because what I say in the course is make your background as dull and uninteresting as possible. Because you want the kids, your students, to concentrate on your content.
Right. And
right? And by the way,
you don't want them looking at your bookshelf and your pictures of your family and Tom Jones behind you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, great adjustment, moving just a little bit so that we could see Tom Jones. Thank you.
Yes.
So, and the other thing is, I was going to charge money for this. I was going to charge $49. I mean, I got to make money during this time when I'm not getting booked on any shows. I'm not doing, much other stuff. No auditions. There's no auditions.
No auditions.
I'm taking care of my students. I'm taking care of but I thought $49. Anybody can afford $49.
Yeah.
And just before I was about to release it, I thought, okay, wait a minute. What if I just set aside the money for now and gave it away for free? So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to start charging at some point. You know, I was going to say May 6th, but I want to say here today that I'm going to go through May 15th because the National PTA is having a Teacher Appreciation Week from, I think, the 4th to the 8th. And I want to celebrate that. I want to, you know, so at some point I'll have to, because I've been working on this for like, God, a month. Like, you know, you would not believe the production quality is great. But the point is, in that time, people started to demonize Zoom. And when I heard about Zoom bombing, I thought Zoom bombing doesn't have to be a thing. I mean, if you've got your preferences set right, it's impossible to be Zoom bombed.
Yeah.
The problem is Zoom was not created for schools to use. It was created for small work groups with high levels of trust. And so their preferences, their default preferences are built around people trusting each other, not, you know, dipwads coming in and showing porn on the back of the screen, you know? So one of the lessons is how to set your preferences so that you're completely safe and your kids are safe when you're teaching with Zoom. So then I started thinking,
I need stuff like that. I need
Drew, you can have the course.
Well, when I set up my Mac for like broadcasting and doing my show and things like that, like they told me just have this setting on your mic, have this setting on this, and I didn't ask any questions. I just set it.
Yep.
And I don't have to know about anything. I just want to know how to set it so I'm safe. And I do that when I look up, like if I have a problem with anything on my Mac, I just look up something on YouTube and look up a couple of things about what to do. And it's all explained. And all you have to do is look it up. But this is great that you're doing this. And I also think it's a good idea to offer it for free, just in case there's any bugs.
Oh, yeah. So, great point. I've got so many things on my notes here I want to get to.
It's great that I think it's good business, actually, to offer it for free because it's kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
And then people can see it. And then, you know, you could offer discounts to people. I'm just thinking out loud. You can offer discounts to people who signed up first.
Well, here's what I plan on doing.
Something, I don't know.
Yeah. So I started this and I thought this is going to take me a while given the scope of the course. And so I'm going to build the plane while I fly it. So the first lessons I put out was lights, camera, microphone. And then I'm starting to fill in all the rest of the stuff. And so it includes stuff on Zoom. It includes stuff on wardrobe and makeup. It includes stuff on how to take what you're learning in the course and maybe build a side hustle. Like if you're a math teacher who really loves magic, or if you're a chemistry teacher who really loves to cook.
Well, you know your teachers.
You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you're a PE teacher who is a yogi on the weekends. You teach yoga online. Sure. You can learn how to do this online and take everything that I'm teaching you and build your own course.
Right.
And I show you how to do that with Loom and with ScreenFlow. And so all of this stuff, I'm in the middle right now of probably 17 little mini lessons on how to show people how to raise and lower their hand on Zoom and mute and unmute themselves on Zoom and all these little Zoom things. But what I'm going to do is when I do start charging for it, all the people that have gotten it for free, if they share it with other teachers, I'll pay them an affiliate fee when those other teachers buy it as a reward for being early, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the course is called teachyourcourseonline.com. And if you're a teacher, please go grab it. We've got nearly 600 teachers in the first 17 days that it's been available that have grabbed it. I want there to be 600,000 teachers that grab it if you need it. And if you've already got your space set up, it's going to help you make it better. If you haven't been able to set up a space and you're still using your phone and you're shooting up your nose and you don't know what to do, you know, it'll show you how to do that. Teachyourcourseonline.com. These teachers that are sent home, nobody's in school, nobody's teaching. There are some systems that I've heard who aren't teaching at all because they either aren't prepared to do it or they're afraid that they won't do it well or they won't do it evenly for all the students. You know, there's a digital divide.
Right. There really is.
So I want any teacher who wants it to have it. It's free. It's totally free. There's no obligation. And I want to be clear about something. It's not free until May 15th, and then I start charging you. If you get it now, it's free for you forever, including any updates that I make, any changes that I make, any lessons that I add. You get it forever. That's the deal.
Yeah, I've got to be an early adopter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think about the fact that we see all of these news stories that show our amazing first frontline responders, doctors, ambulance, nurses, fire, police, military, food workers, grocery store workers. And you know who's missing from that other than, oh, teachers are teaching at home these days, and then moving on to some, is the massive number of teachers that are at home right now as we're doing this live. They're teaching.
Yeah.
And we don't see that. We don't see them sitting in their laundry room dealing with Algebra 2 or dealing with, history of Europe or whatever. They're teaching their class, they're teaching their course, and we don't get to witness that. We don't get to see that. But that is turning Drew Carey into what Drew Carey is today. That moment that a teacher cares about your kid, that moment is life-changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is absolutely life-changing.
I still take classes now. There's a place in LA that's called the Art School in Pasadena. It's a art school at night is what it's called in Pasadena. And I take classes there like regularly. I haven't in a couple of years, but I have.
Isn't that where you learn photography?
Yeah, one of the places. And I took a Photoshop class, photography. I took a intro to figure drawing class there. It's an art school. And and I learned most of my photography stuff from other photographers. But yeah, I did take a really good basic photography course there, and where I had to do tons of assignments about photography I'd never done before. And like the stuff about how to use the camera was easy because I already knew that. But then it was like, oh, go shoot a black and white abstract picture this week. And I was like, what? Like I never did that. I only took sports photography and I only did sports photography. And I only knew how to do that one thing. And all of a sudden I had to go do a portrait. I had to do a street photography. I had to do black and white abstract. I had to do photography that a picture that spoke to different emotions, as if I was on an assignment for a magazine or a newspaper. And it was really educational, eye-opening. And it was an intro to photography course that, I shot the World Cup by that time. I already shot like professional level sports photography only though.
Yeah.
And so I never think to myself like, oh, I know too much to take this course. Like after I learned how to write jokes, I still bought books on how to write jokes. Because then suddenly books like that became more and more available. Now there's lots of them, but you
might be able to write one yourself.
Well, yeah, I probably could. But I would read the book and I would think like, well, 9 out of 10 of these things I already knew, but here's this 10th thing that I can add into my little mix of what I do. And here's another take on the third thing that I haven't been doing, which is another way to look at this, and that'll help me out. So I'm really not afraid to, and you shouldn't be either, of learning something like the basics. So say you already think like, well, I watched a YouTube video and I already learned about a little bit of lighting and stuff. If your course is free and it doesn't cost, and sign up anyway and watch it anyway, because you'll definitely pick up something. That's why people network and talk to other pros in their business. Because when I'm talking to other comics at the club, if I'm doing stand-up, we'll just be shooting the breeze and talking about this and that, and I'll pick up something that they did, or I'll pick up I'll learn by watching somebody's set.
Sure.
Of like, oh, that was a mistake. They shouldn't. I wouldn't be doing what that person's doing, or they'll be doing something so well, and I want to break it down, and I'll go, wow, what's the attitude they walked up with? What technique are they using? What body language are they using? What kind of writing are they doing? And I'll break it down that way to find out what they're doing right, so I can incorporate anything that would apply to me into
Sure.
that you don't want to be stealing in comedy, but
No, but the techniques and like how they ride the audience wave, how they jump on
right,
a line and
right,
followed up with another line. I used to get so
stuff
ticked
like that.
off. I used to get so ticked off when I would go see Bob Saget
Yeah.
because the audience would be laughing so hard I couldn't hear the joke after the joke. Right?
Oh, the taglines. Yeah, I know.
It's taglines. He did the best taglines, and they were so filthy. It was awesome. Anyway, the point is, my friend Christine Aller calls them golden nuggets, right? You never know what golden nuggets are sitting on the floor that you can pick up and that you can make use of. You never know. And then there's also the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. So you learn something, and this guy Ebbinghaus, who was a psychiatrist in Germany in the late 1800s, he studied how quickly students forget stuff. Even when they've studied it, even when they are like doing the all-nighters and really doing in study groups and all that, there's this slow decline of retention of knowledge, and he created a technique to go back and look at it. And part of it is what I'm telling my voiceover students right now. Look, you've got access to every single lesson in my course. Now's a great time to do review. Now's a great time to refresh. And so that's a great point. And I look back and I think about how you said this the other day when we did the promo for this. You said, because I mentioned that you, when you wrote your book, there was some language in there about you learning from personal development gurus, personal development teachers.
Yeah, I bought a lot of self-help books in my day.
Yeah. So I'm sure that today you're still inspired when you come across a passage from somebody like that.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of it is like I call it like setting your gyroscope. So if you're in a mindset of I want to improve we'll stick on the topic that I want to improve my teaching at home. I want to make sure I look good. I want to learn all the techniques. All of a sudden, your subconscious mind will start looking every time you watch the news on TV, for example, or see all the newscasters or talk show people working from home. Mm-hmm. You'll start noticing stuff and think to yourself, that looks good to me. That looks bad to me.
Yeah.
And you will be your own filter about stuff you can see. So you'll watch a talk show, sure, and you'll see the person on the talk show or the people on the talk show and how their backgrounds are and how they're doing it. And they're professionals and supposedly, and you'll look and see it and you think, oh, I could do better than that. Or, oh, I should step up my game because that looks great to me. How can I do that at home with what I've got? And everything helps. But if your subconscious, if your gyroscope is set, you'll automatically start looking for that stuff. Like I don't have to tell myself to look for, comedy writing thing. Like automatically, it's just so automatic, and everything starts getting filtered through that lens. That's how people that make like, when I first started reading self-help books, they were talking about being in like a money-making frame of mind.
Mindset, yeah.
Yeah. Because they're always on the lookout for how to make money. And then some people, you could also be always on the lookout for how to fail, because that'll be your mindset. I'm a failure. I'm clumsy. You tell yourself these things all the time. And next thing you know, your brain is looking for a way to make you trip. Your brain is looking for a bad investment. Your subconscious is looking for that next bad relationship because you tell yourself that you only deserve bad relationships and you only deserve, like, whatever your self-talk is, that really makes a big difference in the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I'm not great at a lot of things, but I'm really good at hosting a show.
Yes, you are.
And I pay attention what other people are doing and see what they do.
Sure.
And I'm really like, there's a lot of things about, like, I'll just on The Price is Right that I suck at. I fumble over words and I misexplain games.
But you realize that's what makes people fall in love with you, right?
I know that that's a thing that people like about me, so I don't worry about it and I let it go. And that's part of my programming. I think like, oh, I don't have to worry about that because they want somebody who's authentic on the show and they appreciate that more than somebody who's slick and blah, 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 blah. They don't want somebody like that. And that turns people off. And so I'm allowed in my head and by the producers, but mostly me, I'm allowed to do that kind of stuff and just be myself.
Absolutely.
And it makes things a lot easier. And I do have a reminder on my door, on my dressing room door, Price is Right, when I walk out. I have 3 notes on cards that I wrote up by hand. And the top one says, "You are a carnival barker." So that's the mindset I walk out in. Like, come on, step right up, knock down the bottles, win yourself a prize.
Yep.
That's the attitude I want to have.
Yep.
And I have to step right up at the carnival. I'm going to explain this game, how easy it is to win or what you have to do to win. Let's see if you can win it. Hurry, 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 win a prize.
Yep.
The next thing is, the really important one is ride the contestants' wave. It says that exact words, ride the contestants' wave. So whatever energy they're bringing up, I have to immediately like empathize with them somehow, catch their wave, their whatever you want to call it, and just be in sync with them so that I can be excited with them, calm them down, make them not as nervous, like whatever I have to do to be in sync with the contestants so we can be both together working to win this prize. So they understand everything I'm saying,
Sure.
so they have the best chance. And then the third one, I have to remind myself not to be so automatic when I throw the commercial. So the third note is give people a reason to come back. And that's like it's listed third because that's like when I'm throwing a commercial, I don't want to always say the same exact words, which I do.
Yeah.
Same exact way, which I do.
But you know what? There's something
to.
there's something to be said for that. 2 things. Number one, people hang their hats on catchphrases.
Yes,
and you can become a little rote. Not you personally, but you can become a little rote if all you ever say is "We'll be right back, 2 and 2." Like
right.
Chuck Woolery used to do. But he was revered for that. I mean, it became a thing.
Right.
But the other thing that I know about you,
and he always did it you never thought he was saying something he memorized either.
No.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like even when I do say it, I want to look right into the camera lens.
Yeah.
And I want to be like, you always say the same things when you end a conversation on the phone. Okay, see you, bye. Okay, love you too, bye.
Yeah.
And you mean it when you say it. You just say the same things over and over again. So even if I'm saying the same thing over and over again, mean it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know also, having worked on the show with you, I know how much you care about the preparation and the time and the effort that it took for all of these people to assemble in the audience, to come from all over the country, from around the world, to get there for that day, that 1 hour or so.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and you don't throw that to the side.
No, people like planned vacations and got their family together and, plan their whole holiday around coming to this one taping. And it's so important that it's a bucket list thing to so many people.
Sure. To
be able to come there and have their one time seeing The Price is Right, with their friends and hope to get picked. And you don't take that lightly because their time is valuable and the effort they put in is valuable and it's just as valuable as yours. And I have so much respect for everybody in the audience and the time they put in to get there. And not to mention the crew, the production office, picking the prizes, figuring out what games we're going to play that day and in what order and all that stuff, what kind of cars we're going to offer, what kind of trips. I mean, there's a lot of work by a lot of people that go into every single show. And you have to, I just have to realize my role and not think I'm more important than everybody else, and make sure I just do my bit to have respect for the work that they put in. Yeah. That's an important thing too. Because if I come out there lackadaisical, then I've just crapped on everything they've done. Like, I don't think what they've done is important, or I don't think these people's time is important. So I have to come in there with a good attitude just to make sure that they're worthwhile, and they haven't wasted their time.
And that's your brand. I think it's interesting because Danny Mika just commented, David and Drew both studied with Sam Christensen too.
Oh yeah.
And so, and can I ask you a favor, Drew? Can you move that microphone just a little bit so we can see your other eye? Thank you.
What's that?
That's so much better. It's so much better because I'm like, he's a pirate. He doesn't.
Can you still hear me? Okay.
Oh yeah. We can hear you fine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So we both took lessons from Sam Christensen, who was an ultimate teacher. He was so good.
So good. One of my main things is I do the best I can with what I got.
Yep.
It's one
Yep.
of my first essence that he gave me.
Yep. And by the way, as we're speaking here today, I've forgotten totally to do this. Please, those of you that are attending right now, could you please share this so that other people know we're doing this right now, and give us a like or a heart or a smash on the button, whatever the kids are saying these days on YouTube, smash the button. Please share it with people, and please, right now, if you could share it, just let people know.
Don't forget to buy our merch.
Yeah, buy the merch. But Sam Christensen, to me, was all about authenticity.
Yes.
He was all about the idea that, so many people, when they start to learn something, they think, I need to do this the way professionals do this. I have an idea in my head how they do it, so I have to do it. I mean, when I was starting out as a DJ, I wanted to be Don Imus. I wanted to be Rick Dees. I wanted to be the real Bob James. And I found out that the best thing to be is David Lawrence.
Right. Bob Barker gave me the best advice when I started doing The Price is Right. He said don't try to copy me. Just be yourself. I don't know if that was a threat. My joke is I know there was.
I know it wasn't. I mean, I know it wasn't.
But he's right. Like you couldn't. He'd been 50 years hosting shows, and of all the people, Bob Barker knows that if you're not you, then who cares? And I learned that from stand-up comedy. Like when you start doing stand-up, you want to be like this person or that person, and you have to be careful when you're first starting out not to totally copy a style, but there'll be styles you're attracted to, but you don't want to come off as another, because who needs you? They already have the real thing.
Yeah.
So nobody needs a copy of a thing they can get for real. And now it's all recorded. So nobody needs that.
Yeah.
They need somebody who is themselves that they haven't seen before. Nobody's seen you before because everybody's different. So do not be afraid of being yourself. If you're nervous and if you have like funny affectations in your voice that you think are bad, they're not.
No.
Just go with it. Just be yourself and be authentic. That's the best possible thing you can be all the time, especially when you're trying to teach somebody something. Because when you're imagine like you're talking to friends. Half the time, you're not going to come up to a best friend and come up with some hokey persona that you thought up and some affectation in your voice because who wants to listen to a DJ anyway that's going, we're playing the stacks of wax in the back of the racks.
Well, I do.
Doesn't matter.
I do, but that's me, and I'm crazy.
Well, if that's what you want,
but
you can be that
that's
guy.
what I grew up with. That's what I grew up with. That's what I'm familiar with. And I think that's what a lot of people have grown up with.
Even those guys had their own style.
Absolutely.
And didn't copy each other.
Absolutely.
Like you mentioned, real Bob James wasn't like Mike Ranieri, wasn't like Kid Leo.
Yeah, Kid Leo.
And they all had that background where they could do that if they wanted, and they could all do a version of that. But that's the thing. If that's the kind of, if you want the AM boss radio style, you can get it, but you can get like 10 different versions of that, 100 different versions of that, all under the same umbrella.
Sure.
But you can still be authentic.
Sure.
And still do that. Like you're not going to talk to your kids the way you talk to your beer buddies or your wine club, but you can still be your authentic self, your authentic teaching self.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that's
authenticity is the main.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that's hardest for people that come to me to learn voiceover. That come from radio, because they've been rewarded for years for having that back of the throat pukey voice, and it's hard for them to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you talk to your wife that way? Do you talk to your kids that way? Do you say, I think it's time for you to go to bed now? Do you do that? No, you don't, right? So
let's a joke.
Well, it's a joke. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So all of these teachers that help you get to where you are, whether it's a teacher in school, a teacher in college, a teacher in life, a teacher from a book, I want to know from you, do you remember your favorite teachers? Do you remember teachers whose names stick out to you? Like, for me, it was Mrs. Keese. She was my English teacher in high school. And I don't know, do you remember Mr. Jingling on Channel 5?
Yeah.
So Mr. Jingling was played by a producer on Channel 5 named Earl Keese. And
Oh,
it
that's
wasn't
right.
until I was a booth announcer at Channel 5 in Cleveland that I realized he was married to my high school English teacher, Mrs. Keys.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, for those of you that don't know, Mr. Jingling was sponsored by Hallie's, which was a department store in Cleveland.
That's who Halle Berry is named after.
Really?
Yeah, she's named after Halle's department
I
store.
didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
she's from Cleveland.
That's great. I didn't know
Yeah,
that either. Why didn't I know that?
that's how she
Anyway,
got her name.
so Earl Keys, very active in Cleveland theater, Lakewood Little Theater, Cleveland Playhouse, producer on Channel 5, and he did this character that would tell morality stories every day on the news, for crying out loud. Like the
Yeah,
weather guy, Don Webster, would toss to Mr. Jingling, and
yeah,
there would be this sponsored moment. And when I found out he was married to Mrs. Keys, all of a sudden he became a completely different person to me because of what she did for me, what
yeah.
she
Yeah, he
installed
was.
in me.
I didn't think when I was a kid there was no Santa. There was just Mr. Jingling. That's how popular he was in Cleveland.
Mm. So Mrs. Keys, I had one other teacher that was really my favorite, and I'm vamping here to give you time to think of your favorite teachers. And by the way, if you're watching this, please let me know. Melissa says Mrs. Rose, my junior lit teacher in high school, Mrs. Ryder, first person who told me to go to law school. That's great. When I remember the very first teacher that I was like just blown away by was Miss Kelly in the first grade. I was like, she knows everything. She knows everything. And then one Friday afternoon, Miss Kelly announced there's going to be a big change on Monday. So she used an open loop, and I was like, what is that? What's the change? What's going to happen on Monday? So come Monday, Miss Kelly was Mrs. Tidgmeyer, and I
Hey.
was devastated. I was like, wait, hold on. Mrs. Tidgmeyer, that's the last name you want? Don't you want to be Mrs. Lawrence? I'll wait for you. Can't you wait for me? You know, but she and I remember I had a civics teacher in the fourth grade, Mr. Cooper, who was just like imperious. And he used that to his advantage. And there were all these teachers all throughout school. Any favorite teachers for you?
Well, I'm thinking, I graduated high school a year early,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to get out, and I took English, senior English during the summer. I didn't even have commencement. I just went to the principal's office and got my diploma. He said, "Oh, what'd you get in English?" And he goes, "Oh, okay. Here's your diploma." I shook my hand. I said, "Thank you very much," and then I walked out of his office. And I got home, and there's a picture of me somewhere with me holding up my diploma in the yard, just regular clothes that my mom took. Yeah, I had a lot of nice teachers in high school and stuff. But when I was thinking about the most, the teachers that had the biggest impact on me, the biggest effect on my life, I would have to say were my drill instructors in boot camp when I went to Marine Corps boot camp.
Ah,
And I just thought of that just now. I was just going over in my head, like through my life, like all the courses and in college and stuff like that. But those guys in boot camp were absolutely teachers. They had to teach us rifle drill, marching, Marine Corps customs, like everything about being a Marine. And I was in boot camp for like 3 months, and I walked out of there a different person than when I walked in, and some of those changes and some of that stuff has been with me my whole life, and I've never let it go, and it's been so important to me. Just like, I was practically homeless when I joined. I was sleeping on my brother's couch. I had no money. I'd been robbed, and I didn't have anything but the clothes on my back. And when I got out of there, I had pride in myself. I had pride in my appearance and body. I had a sense of self-discipline that I didn't have before. I had a camaraderie with people, an organization that I belonged to, a thing like that I've never felt before. And it was pretty great the way they did everything. And those guys were able to be, they instructed you, but they were also were able to be completely honest with me and everybody there. If they didn't like what you were doing, they just told you, and it wasn't like they were yelling all the time and calling you names. That's not exactly what happens. But they were allowed to just go like, what the heck are you doing? Like, and just tell people exactly what they thought. They didn't have to worry about HR.
No.
Coming down.
It's a whole different instructional theory there.
Yeah, but you better believe that they have a team of military psychologists that work for the Pentagon that come up with all the boot camp training and all the training they do throughout the military, during boot camp, after boot camp. Like, it's nothing but learning when you're in the military all the time. You're always taking courses and refresher courses on everything. You mentioned all the technical things that people have to learn when they're in the military.
Sure.
And so, yeah, those guys were very, very important to me, and great teachers, really good teachers, very clear about the instruction. They did everything right along with us, which they were quick to tell us all the time, like, we're doing this with you. There's no reason you can't do this because we're doing it, and we do it all the time. I've been through boot camp 10 times now. I've been through the boot camp 20 times now. You can do this. And, a lot of learning by example. Yeah, those guys were really important to me.
Yeah. And I haven't been calling out all of the people who have been talking about how their service and their instruction in the Army, the Marines, and other services has been so formative. I haven't been calling people out, but Stuart and Meredith and Callan and Latanya and Michaela and Kristen, they've all had really wonderful things to say while you were talking about that. Again, if you wouldn't mind sharing this real briefly, just tap the share button, give us a like, let people know so we can get more people in here while we're doing this Facebook Live. I'd appreciate it. Again, the course is called teachyourcourseonline.com, and this is about helping teachers teach from home. It's absolutely free. It's available right now. If you're a teacher, and I know that a lot of the people here that don't self-identify as teachers are still teachers, they teach something that, maybe they don't teach, AP physics, but they're teaching something else. And Jack just asked if this session is going to be available. If you're talking about this Facebook Live, any Facebook Live that you see on Facebook is kept by Facebook as a recording. So once we're done here,
forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, forever. I mean, I could delete it if I want to, but I'm not going to. So Johnny just showed up, Johnny Walker.
Hey, Johnny, what's happening?
Yeah, he was. I was so sad that this all happened. More than anything, I was looking forward.
Johnny was supposed to get married.
Exactly.
I was going to be his best man. Still, I'm going to be his best man when he does get married. But he was going to get married just last week in my backyard.
Last weekend. Yeah.
Here at my house, and I had to cancel the wedding because of the quarantine. So, buddy.
So Johnny, nothing's happened other than sharing the meaning of life, and we can only share it once. So, so what we're talking about here today is teachers, and this course, Teach Your Course Online, is going to be free. I made the announcement today. I'm extending it through May 15th, and this is not a thing like if you take this course, there's an upsell to a bigger course. I mean, there's one opportunity that you have to join a group called Office Hours, which is basically $27 a month. I meet with you personally on Zoom to help you set up your space. And exactly one teacher has purchased it. So I'm not worried about that. But there's no upsell. There's no like down the line, I'm going to be like trying to get you to buy the bigger course that this is taken from.
No.
So
yeah, salad bars included.
Salad bar is included, exactly. That teacher, whoever that teacher was, that told you, if you just go to the library, there's going to be a book on this. You can get a book on this. And that's the moment that you changed into a library kid. That's a moment that you changed into somebody who is a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
That person didn't just teach you something. They taught you how to learn. They taught you how to accept teaching, yeah?
The most important thing you can learn in school is how to learn.
Yeah. Yeah,
if you
it's
ask me.
crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
you'll never have a career. I guarantee you, even anybody who's a teacher now, you're always going to be changing something about your career or adding to it or do some kind of side thing where your skills will come in handy and serve you in some kind of way. Everybody goes through their whole life with a couple different directions in their career, even though they're related under the same umbrella, it's still kind of the same. So
yeah,
it's important to learn these skills anyway for anything you might be doing.
yeah. So if you could go back and thank a teacher, and I'm asking the people that are watching, if you could go back and thank a teacher, what would you say? Because
Uh,
when we're kids, we don't realize the value of teachers. We think teachers are sometimes these oppressive ogres that give us homework all the time and are going to grade us and judge us. And yet, except for me and Miss Kelly, but yet you have teachers that are shaping you, that are responsible for guiding you through this process of learning how to learn. What would you go back and share with them? And if you put this in the comment, and all you have to do, by the way, to put a comment in or to ask us a question, we're going to take some questions here in a moment. All you have to do is just make a comment below the video. We'll see it. I'll see it. I'll put it up on the screen. What teacher taught you something that you didn't think you needed? Like, I didn't think I would ever need the distributive theorem or the commutative theorem in algebra. I would never need that. But the truth of the matter is, when I'm working with graphics, when I'm resizing graphics, or when I'm doing something in sound, I'm using that algebra that I learned and didn't have any idea that I would need. And one other question, what teacher taught you something that you didn't think you could do? Right? What
yeah.
teacher inspired you when you were just sitting there and you were banging your head against the wall? I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. I'm never going to amount to anything. And the teacher took you by the hand, showed you how to do it, and it clicked. What did you learn? So,
Oh, hmm. Hmm.
and you don't
How
have
much,
to. I mean,
how much time do we have
yeah.
for me to think of this?
I have as much time as you want, man. I've got some things that I want to share, but for me, it was that. I mean, the teacher, the guy that ran the AV squad in our high school, teaching me how to edit film strips. I didn't think I was going to use that later in life. I didn't think I was going to think about video editing and all that.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't know. I just thought, oh, I get to get out of study hall. I get to be in the AV room instead of in study hall.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of these things start, by the way. You just don't want to, I don't want to be this one place. Let me go to this other place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to go back to boot camp again. Like, I don't know. There's so many things. It's just like I do this thing now where with the quarantine, and I've said it in a couple interviews that I've done about taking care of your nest. And what I mean by that is like the rooms you're using the most, because everybody only uses a couple rooms, a few rooms in their place. Even if you have a big house, there's rooms like you never go into and you're always in. Like I read an article once, it's totally true, about people that build like a big patio with furniture and they never use it.
Never use it.
Always in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's where families and friends always get together. They're always in the kitchen. So like my kitchen is part of my nest. My bedroom is part of my nest. The room where I watch TV, that's part of my nest. Like those three major rooms. So I always have to keep those rooms clean and tidy, no matter what. Because if I don't, and it affects my attitude and my mindset, and it leads to depression. And then next thing you know, I'm letting something else go and something else go. And I can see when it's happening, when I see like, oh, I'm letting these things go and I'm feeling kind of down. Oh, look, my bed's a mess. And it's been that way all day. I haven't made my bed yet. And as soon as I make the bed, I feel better. As soon as I sweep and mop the floor, I feel better. As soon as I do the dishes, I'm ready to start my day. There's these little things you do. And I learned all that in the stupid Marine Corps in boot camp.
Yeah.
And the Marine
And he
Corps was
doesn't mean
general.
stupid as in it's stupid. He's just like,
Yeah, no.
where would you
Like,
learn that if not home
like,
ec, right?
so you could think of yourself as in boot camp as a recruit, thinking like, oh, they're making me make my bed, or you're in some, like when you're in the Marines, it doesn't matter if you're in Afghanistan or whatever, you still got to shave and get your hair cut. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't say like, oh, well, you're in combat, so take it easy on the shaving. Don't worry about that because you have enough on your mind. No, you must shave. You must keep your hair neat. There's things you do, and it's psychological. They're not doing that to mess with you. They know that you have to do these basic like grooming things to keep you active and in the moment with all your other. There's a lot of psychological reasons behind that,
Sure.
and all this idea of taking care of your nest, keeping this one area neat. That's all stuff I learned in boot camp, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't always like that before I joined the Marine Corps. I was just a regular kid bachelor. Yeah, just have like bed never made, like only once in a while when I thought of it. And,
Sure.
Now.
Well, it brought order to your life.
Right.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing is really, I'm not like you wouldn't walk into my kitchen and go like, wow, this guy's a super neatnik, but it's clean. And it's ready to go, and things are put away, and it's ready to cook, and all the counters have been wiped down and disinfected, and just like you're supposed to do. And that's how I roll. And that was really important and affected me my whole life, all that kind of knowledge.
I think our biggest takeaway here is that Drew sweeps and mops and makes his bed and, wipes down the counters. And
I don't have my housekeeper coming in now, so I have to.
Exactly. What about something you didn't think you could do? Like, I'm sure many times in the Marines, and we're getting all kinds of great comments.
I had a friend of mine who taught me a lot about photography that I worked with, and these guys were both really important to me, and one of them was I took a video editing course and a video making course, and again, just because I thought I just want to learn stuff, and I thought, oh, this might come in handy, or just it was fun to take. So it was like a weekend workshop on how to do video, and I was the only. There was two non-professional photographers in that course. There was people that worked for major newspapers all over the place, and all in the course, and bosses. And these guys that were like photographers for newspapers had to learn video, because all of a sudden they were setting them out to do video stories for the website for the newspapers, and just being able to take still pictures wasn't enough anymore. And this guy ended up being my cameraman for a show I did for the Travel Channel, where I went and I shot the World Cup in Germany. Mm-hmm. And he went with me, and I also did all these travel things, and he was my cameraman the whole time. And I did a special for the Travel Channel about the World Cup. And the whole time I was shooting the World Cup as a professional photographer.
I'll tell you, the first time I saw your picture credit in Sports Illustrated, I was like, what? Wow. It's awesome.
It was a small part of a thing online, but it was something.
It was great.
Don't make a big deal out of it.
It was great. But wait, hold on a second. Hold on. You do this all the time, and frankly, it pisses me off. You do this all the time.
Why?
I'll say something like, oh man, I really like that. And maybe you hear this so often because you're a celebrity and other people want to fawn on you. You hear this all the time when people say, oh, that was really good. And it's hard for you to accept that. It's hard for you to let that in. And you minimize it. And I'm calling you out on it, man, because your shots were amazing.
Thank you. But I also, because I've known so many photographers that are really next level, and I think, well, I'm not.
Is it a race?
No, but okay. I'm not on that guy's
Look,
level.
that one, if your shutter speed is 60, that 1/160th of a second that you captured that kick.
Yeah, but I learned that from somebody. But like, I'll tell you, for example, so I shot the World Cup in Germany, and when you're shooting soccer, you don't get to move around like you do if you're shooting an NFL game or
Oh.
even so NFL photographers are constantly picking up their stuff and moving along the sidelines with the team as the drive's going along. And they'll, like, if they think a pass play is coming up, they'll run and get to the end zone and set up so they can catch wherever they think the pass is going to go. And you really have to know the game to pre-plan where you're going to be for your shots and all that kind of stuff. But in soccer, you're where you're at and that's it. And so, and for the World Cup, you have they had chairs, like folding metal chairs, stuck together, so you couldn't even move them sometimes. But that was your space. You had this little space, and you were shoulder to shoulder with all these other photographers. So, two guys would come up for a header, and as soon as the apex of the header came, you heard you heard every shutter go off.
Yeah.
And it's like this group, and they were all taking the same shots at the same moments. And then I would look at my pictures that I took, which were good and very professional. I was at a professional level.
Yeah.
I would also see the pictures that got published in Sports Illustrated or a Getty photographer that got in the newspaper the next day. We're shooting the same game, same place, and their picture would be better. Somehow. It would be better toned. They would have a better angle. Like something would be like, oh, that's just that much better than me. And I would recognize that because I was good enough to recognize that. Just like I'm good enough to recognize when I'm doing stand-up if somebody's that much funnier than me. Because if somebody's that much funnier than you, they're funnier than you. And they're going to, make the audience laugh more. And if you're that much better than somebody, well, guess what? You're going to make more money in the long run than that person. So I've learned to deal in degrees of good. So I'm not minimizing it. I'm just saying there's so many other people that were just when you get to a certain level, it really gets tough. There's a saying I got from Dennis Waitley. He was a self-help guy.
Dennis Waitley taught you.
Yeah, he's one of my self-help teachers from his books. And the saying is, the better you get, the better you better get. No matter how good you are at something, your competition is not your aunt who read your script or whatever. That's if you write a script. I took a script writing class, a story class from this guy, and he said, that was another really good teacher. Oh my God. McKee's story class that I took. That was another. I've learned so much about story from that. Robert McKee. Yeah, that guy's a great teacher. I read his book first, and then I've taken several of his classes, had lunch with him, sat next to him on a plane once. He always taught me something. That guy's amazing. And, I'll put him down as one of the best influential teachers that I ever had. And he, in front of the class, the first day, this general story course that he teaches all over the place, or he used to, I guess, before the quarantine. And he said, I bet he is. And he tells the whole class, and there's 600, 800 people in a class, big lecture hall. He has these big lecture halls just packed with people because his course is so popular. And he'll say, a lot of people ask me, how can I get my script read? And he said, it's real easy. All you have to do is write an exceedingly good script. He used to be a script reader. And they would so here's all these people that I'm going to be a writer, and they sit down and they type, and they come up with a story. They probably got some books and blah, blah, whatever. And you just, the cream rises to the top. Your competition in that area is every movie you see on TV or in the theater, even the bad ones. That's what got picked. And they're reading all that, and that's honestly every year, if you watch TV and think oh, these shows are good or these shows are bad, Like that's the best they could find for that network that year at that price. Like all these other things that factor into what makes a sale. So if you watch something if you want to be like a TV actor, a TV writer, a voiceover guy for your courses, every time you listen to somebody doing voiceover in a commercial or on the radio or on TV, that's your competition. When I watched Whiplash and the teacher was berating that drummer the whole movie, I was kind of on the teacher side, not his technique, but the idea that like, who needs you? Like just because you're putting in work, so what? We already have Buddy Rich on CD. If somebody wants to hear a great drummer, they can just listen to Buddy Rich on CD. Sure. Who the hell needs you?
Yeah.
Are you as good as Buddy Rich? Because if you're not, get the hell out of here, because who needs you?
One of the things I share with my students
that's
is
show business right there.
Absolutely.
That's everything in show business.
One of the things I share with my students is if you're the best in the room or if you're the smartest in the room, go find another room.
Go find another room. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, that's been a watchword for me all throughout my life. And what's helped me along the way is somebody welcoming me into that new room and giving me more stuff to learn, to master, to share with others. They say the best way of learning something is to teach it to somebody else. And so,
yeah, it is.
I'm not going to lie. There are some things that I put in this course that I didn't know how to do before I started doing the course. I don't use an electronic whiteboard, but I know that teachers do. And so I taught myself how to use my iPad as an electronic whiteboard via Zoom, and it's going to be one of the lessons in Teach Your Course Online. But once I found out how to do it, or once I found out how, I never use breakout rooms on Zoom. Do you know what breakout rooms are?
No.
So it's kind of like when you were in school and you would be talking about something political or in social studies, and then the teacher would say, okay, break out into pairs and discuss, and I'll come around and I'll, sort of facilitate.
You can do that on Zoom?
Yeah. There's a thing called breakout rooms on Zoom. So learning how to do that, it wasn't something that I had done before, but it's something that teachers need from time to time. So I wanted to teach it to them. And so the best way to learn it was to teach it to somebody else. So the course is called teachyourcourseonline.com. I have some questions. We've got a lot of teachers. I'm pointing over here at my screen where all the comments are. And Christine and Tiffany and Melissa and Joseph, thank you for letting me know my mic was muted. I appreciate that. I don't know how long that was going on. Thank you so much for being here. If you could share and like us, we'd really appreciate it. And thank you for the new followers. I'm getting notes on my phone that all these people are following me. Thank you so much. For the teachers that are watching, what is the biggest challenge you have right now teaching from home? Even if you already have your setup set up. Is it your camera? Is it your lights? Is it managing the classroom? Is it Zoom? Is it your microphone? Is it the fact that you have to move around? Like right now, I'm teaching, but I'm teaching by sitting on my ass on a stool, right? I don't move around. I'm not a yoga teacher getting into different poses. But we do talk about the difference between somebody who is maybe working at a physical board behind them, or teaching something that requires movement, teaching something that requires, doesn't require movement, just sitting in place. What's your biggest challenge teaching from home? So it's going to take a while for it to get in. And then what's been one thing that you found out either from my course, from Teach Your Course Online, if you've taken it, or that you found out from somewhere else that's made your home teaching easier, that's made it a bit less onerous? And in the meantime, while I'm waiting for people to tell us, I want to remind you, teachyourcourseonline.com, absolutely free. It's free through May 15th. It was going to be May 6th, but I'm extending it because of the National PTA's Teacher Appreciation Week, because that's what I do these days. I watch the teacher space. And if you would please share the link that you see on your screen, teachyourcourseonline.com, via social media, Twitter, Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn. There's a lot of teachers on LinkedIn. If you could, everybody has teachers in their family or in their circle of friends. I mean,
yeah, my sister-in-law is a teacher.
Yeah, the world's lousy with teachers. There's teachers everywhere. Yeah. You can't walk 6 feet without walking into a teacher. Actually, you can't walk 6 feet in any direction anymore legally and walk into anybody. No. But tell me that, and then I have a couple of things that I want to share with you. DonorsChoose.org, DonorsChoose.org, and Smile.amazon.com. If you want to help teachers, think about perhaps sponsoring books, sponsoring supplies through DonorsChoose.org, or assigning your local school or school system or teacher or whatever shows up for you in the list of possible options in smile.amazon.com. Now, what smile.amazon.com is, apparently you know what that is, Drew?
Yeah, they donate to a charity every time you buy something.
And they don't donate an insignificant amount. It's not like they're donating 1/10 of 1%. They're donating like 2, 3, 4, 5% of what you're spending. So I help, one of my coaches has a nonprofit in Riverside County called Find Your Voice Center. They help kids at risk with radio programming and television, teaching them how to do production so they can find their voice. And I support them. I urge you, if you're going to go to Amazon to buy stuff, and who isn't going to Amazon to buy stuff these days? If you're going to go to Amazon to buy stuff, consider going to smile.amazon.com. You won't pay anything extra, and Amazon will donate part of the money to who you choose as your nonprofit charity of choice. Your school is likely on that list, so look for that. So we've got some people on the screen. Johnny's saying our biggest challenge is Zoom and all the settings for our situation and graphics. Okay. Latanya says, how do I express or guide my students in physicalization? Aaron Newmeyer says, my daughter's teacher does the breakout sessions on Zoom for her 5th grade class. Wow. That's a management issue. Kristen, biggest challenge. I miss being able to walk around and get closer to specific people when we're talking. And that isolation has got to be, like, I watched news stories where CBS Evening News followed around a teacher who happened to live in the neighborhood of the school that she taught at. And it was so sad because she was on the sidewalk. That's as close as she could get to her kids to wave and say hi. And I'm still here, and I'm here for you. You know? Whoa, look at this. Wait, hold on, Drew. Look at that. Can you read that? Hallie says, hi, Drew. I'm a teacher at Parma Senior High.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Parma's a suburb of Cleveland that Drew might have some familiarity with.
I went to Rhodes.
Yeah, there you go. Aaron Newmeyer says, I give to my kids through smile.amazon.com. Debbie says, I found that while teaching online, I need to connect my Ethernet cord as well as my Wi-Fi just so I lose no moments. Absolutely. If you can hardwire your computers to your Ethernet, you're going to get faster upload speeds, which means your picture is going to look better. Your sound's going to look better. When you hold something up in front of the camera to show it to kids, or when you show it online via a whiteboard or some sort of share with a PowerPoint deck, we show people how to do that as well, how to share with PowerPoint and Keynote.
You can also take Zoom off HD, too, if you have a connectivity issue that might save you some.
Well, they actually do that automatically for you.
Oh, they do it? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
They'll do it for you if you do that. They've done a whole bunch of things in the last few weeks because they've been thrown into this situation that they didn't see coming.
No.
They went from 1.4 million users to 11 million users in 4 days.
Wow.
I don't know any IT guy who could be asked to scale up that quickly, but they did it. And but what they didn't do was they didn't think about, and it's you can't blame them. They didn't think about the fact that the default settings that they have for work groups, for business work groups, wasn't necessarily the best for schools. I think New York City schools and Los Angeles schools should really reconsider this whole notion of believing the hysteria around Zoom is stealing our information and all. Zoom is doing nothing more and nothing less than any other software publisher does to gather information about their users. And they've done a lot of work to change their default settings. Right now, they've shut off all kinds of things that helped contribute to Zoom bombing. I'm just saying Zoom is worth a second look, please. Austin Butner at the LAUSD, please reconsider using Zoom. Let's see. Debbie says, perhaps because I use Skype, I haven't taught yet on Zoom because I do one-on-one coaching mainly. Well, you don't need Zoom Zoom isn't only for group sessions. When I do my private coaching with voiceover, I do it over Zoom. I could do it over Skype, but I do it over Zoom because it's familiar to my students. It's what we use in our group workouts online. So we show you all these things in Teach Your Course Online. It's free through May 15th, not May 6th. One other thing I want to just exhort you to do. When you get a chance, take 5 minutes. It's going to take you 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes, sit down with a piece of paper and a pen, and write a note. You can send an email. You can tweet at somebody. You can post something on Facebook about how great one of your kids' teachers is or how great one of your teachers is. But Jen shared with me just how powerful a written note is. And I can absolutely understand that. There are times when I get a note from a student and they say, hey, what's your mailing address? And I'm like, why do you want to know? But
Yeah.
then I get this thank you card in the mail, or I get a letter, or I get just a heartfelt couple of sentences about, Joseph Narducci is one of the people watching, and he just posted something really sweet about how I helped him with, being himself and removing the artifice from his voice. And it's lovely. And I so appreciate that. And he's one of those people that has also written me something. And there is nothing more amazing than the power of a written note. So if you have a chance and you can find a teacher's address, send him or her a note and tell them how you feel. Tell them what they've done for you and your family, your kids, their future. And if you know a teacher that needs help setting up at home, going through the paces with cameras, with microphones, with lights, with Zoom, with what they wear, with how they present things, that's what this course, the thing that you see on your screen right now, Teach Your Course Online. It's absolutely free. It's now 38 lessons, and I'm sure there's going to be some more because people are going to give me some ideas. Please do share it with the teachers that you have. And if you teach anything, go get the course. There's no, you don't have to prove, one of the things that I'm going to teach people how to use is a thing called Loom. Yes, it rhymes with Zoom, but it's not the same thing. Loom is a plugin that you can plug into Chrome, or you can have as a separate app that is just sitting there waiting for you to record video on your computer. So you just click one button and it starts rolling. And it's great for minimizing the speed bump between, hey, I really should record that lesson, and actually recording the lesson. So I'm going to show people how to do it. They're giving Loom away to teachers and students absolutely free. Loom Pro, which is their best edition. They're giving it away for free, not just now, but forever. But you have to prove to them that you're a teacher. You have to have a school system email address. Student has to have a school system email address. That's not what I'm doing. If you self-identify as a teacher, if you teach somebody tapping, or you teach somebody stand-up comedy, or you teach somebody Algebra 2, go to teachyourcourseonline.com, grab the course, and please give me your feedback. Like Drew said, I'm going to get feedback, in giving it away for free. I'm going to get more users who are going to give me feedback. And know that when I do start charging for it, you won't have to pay anything extra. And in fact, if you want to, at that point, you can then still share it with teachers. And every time they buy, it'll be $49. It'll never cost more than that. $49. And if they buy, you'll get an affiliate fee for that. You'll get a percentage of that. So grab the course now, learn from it. Please tell me what you want to learn, what you want to see done better, what your feedback is. I would love to know that. And I would love it if you would share this video with your friends and family, with other people that, just share it on Facebook, on your timeline. And we'll take questions. If somebody wants to ask questions of Drew, and Aaron says, does Loom record audio from the computer too? Yeah, you set your microphone up just the way you would with any other piece of software. If you're used to recording with the software that I teach, which is ScreenFlow, Just as you would set up your microphone, your camera as inputs on your browser or in ScreenFlow, you do the same thing with Zoom. I'm looking for something to do during Teacher Appreciation Week, maybe a writing campaign. Okay, great. So go to the PTA site because it's actually at, I don't have the list here, but if you just look for National PTA Teacher Appreciation Week, just Google that. They actually have a toolkit that you can download that gives you all kinds of suggestions as to what to do for Teacher Appreciation Week. And I would love it if maybe you'd suggest to them that they put this teacher course online in that toolkit so that you can share that with teachers and help them appreciate and like that. If you have questions for Drew or if you have questions for me, post them as a comment below the video. We'll take just a few moments to answer questions. I have a question for Drew. And that is,
yes.
I'm trying to phrase this properly. Do you have an appreciation? Johnny posted something earlier. I can't scroll back and find it, but he said, nobody fights a compliment better than Drew. Or words to that effect. Do you have any idea how absolutely incredible your impact has been on my life?
No. But I don't want to. Don't do that now.
No.
Don't do this in front of me.
The things that you've taught me.
Oh boy.
Now hold on. I'm not gonna. This is really important because these things happen every day. You and I grew up together. I mean, we met each other as late teens, early 20s. You know, working on a show called the Cleveland Comedy Company that Bob James put together, right? Yeah. Which, by the way, won an Emmy. It won an Emmy, by God. It was a local Emmy, but it was an Emmy.
Yeah, that's what I do. I want to.
Yeah. So Drew's won a few Emmys between then and now.
No.
You haven't won an Emmy yet?
No, I don't nominate myself for any.
So people don't know this. Rarely do the production companies do the nominating for Emmys. They nominate the show, but they don't necessarily nominate the actors or the presenters. Or that happens on their own. They nominate.
Yeah, they have
themselves.
to do it. You have to do that yourself.
Yeah. So next time you see somebody that's winning an Oscar or an Emmy, know that they actually asked for that honor.
Don't care. My joke about Oscars is I always say, I hope your favorite millionaire was a trophy for doing their job.
But here's the thing. We met in our early 20s, and we talked to each other. When we were living in Cleveland, we talked to each other. I don't know if you remember this, but we talked to each other every day, if not more than once a day. We talked to each other all the time.
And this was on the phone when he had to talk to somebody.
That's right, exactly. You lived where you lived. I think I was living in Westlake or Berea, or I was living in Ohio City for a while. And by the way, I worked as a waiter for exactly 3 days at Ohio City Tavern and Hex. Yeah. And when this lovely elderly lady and her 8 friends had lunch and took up my entire section and walked up to me and put 2 quarters in my hand and said, "You were marvelous."
Table of ladies having lunch will murder you if you're a waiter.
Yeah. So the point is, you helped me in ways that you can't imagine. When I saw you go off to the Marines, when I saw you on the Tonight Show for the first time, and I don't know if you remember this, you called me that day. And you said, "Hey, I think I'm going to get on the Tonight Show tonight." And you said, "Do you have any advice?"
What did you tell me?
And I said, "Slow down."
Oh, yeah, I do. I used to write that on my notes on my set list.
Yeah, I said, you had just been in Baltimore. I was living in D.C. at the time. You were just in Baltimore, and you ran through your set so fast because you knew the material. You knew what was coming. And I'm like, people don't know what's coming. They have no idea what you're going to say. Some of them may have seen you doing live, but they don't know what's happening. So just take a moment, take a deep breath, and slow down. And I'm telling you, man, you were pitch perfect that night.
Thanks. Yeah, it was pretty good that night.
Yeah, you were great. So you have changed my life in so many ways. You called me one day and said, "Hey, we're doing this thing. We're having fill-in announcers. You want to work on The Price is Right?" And I'm like, yes, please. Thank you. Little things like that. You've helped me so many times in my life, and you've taught me lessons, just like you mentioned earlier, that you don't even know you did.
Everybody does, man.
It's incredible.
Right back at you.
Thank you. So I didn't want to make it a big deal. I just.
Yeah, my glasses are fogging up in here.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So I want to make sure we have any, if somebody wrote, okay, that's a script thing. Let me see if I can find some questions for us. Does anybody have, everybody just wants Whose Line Is It Anyway to come back. That's
It is. It's on CW.
So, Kristen, did you not know that Whose Line Is It Anyway isn't there?
It's on the CW now. It's all the same people, just a different. Aisha Tyler's the host, and she's great.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot you were the host of. No, you weren't the host. You were a contestant on Star Search.
Yes.
And who remind me again who you lost to? Was it Sinbad?
No, it was. Oh man, I'm blanking on his name. This is terrible. I feel terrible. I'm blanking on his name right now. No, it wasn't Sinbad.
But it was somebody.
Yeah, he became.
And you handled that so well.
The guy that I lost to became a very successful comedy writer and TV writer.
Got it. Okay. So wait a minute. Hold on. And this is something I wanted to bring up. You know about Masterclass, Drew?
Yes.
Wait a minute. I didn't mean to put that one on the screen. There we go. Are you teaching any classes? Have they approached you at all about teaching comedy?
No.
So you only need to give them like a couple days of your life. They shoot you in this beautiful Hollywood setting.
That's probably why I didn't do it. Right away, you lost me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and also this isn't.
Honestly, I would tell you just to get these books that I read and just read them yourself and make your own notes.
That would be great. Wouldn't it be great?
Yeah.
There's one lesson. They only shot one lesson in Drew's master class. And he was like, "Hey,
here's the books I have.
Here's some books. Get the books. Thank you."
No.
All right, last chance. I'm going to call it out. Last chance. Going once, going twice. Last chance. If you want to ask Drew questions, if you want to ask me questions, now's the time to just type them in the comments below, and we'll be happy to do it. Aaron Newmeyer wants you to do a master class. All right.
Well, then nobody's ever approached me to do one.
Really?
No. And I don't think they would they would probably get somebody who's like more known, and if they were smart, if you ask me, they would get somebody who's more known as a comedy writer.
No, I'm talking about stand-up comedy.
Oh, they would get somebody who's like working all the time now. Like I barely do stand-up comedy, but they would try to get somebody who's like currently doing it.
I'm fairly familiar with how they decide who they go after. And
I'm not at all.
They care about Q ratings. They care about putting butts in the seats.
I think my Q rating is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I bet it's pretty good. A Q rating is, for people who don't know, there's a company, and they the higher your Q rating, the better. But it's not just how many people know you and are aware of you. It's how much people like you.
Yeah.
It's so both those things together. Are you well known and well liked?
Right.
And I think my Q rating has always been pretty good.
It is.
Yeah.
So Bob Gamola said, or Bill Gamola, I went to school with his brother Bob. Bill Gamola said, "Drew, did you go to college? You went to Kent State, right?"
Barely. I'll tell you, since we're talking about teachers, I was a really bad college student, and all I did was drink and get high the whole time I was in college. I never took it seriously like I should, and I ended up wasting a lot of money and time. But as far as academics goes, I went to Kent State, and I signed up for this class. I can't even remember what class it is, but I signed up for a class. It was my freshman year. And I never went to the class after the first class.
Oh, wow.
And honestly, all I did was party the whole time. And then I actually overslept drop day when I was in college. There's a day where you could drop your classes and get incompletes. But I overslept that day, and then by the time I ate, then I was like, oh man, by the time I get the bus and get the administration building, it's going to be too late. Forget it. And I can't remember what excuse I told myself. So I ended up going to take the final for this class that I'd never been to, but it just said on the schedule that the final was that day. So I thought, well, let me go take the final because it's part of your grade. Maybe I can get a D and salvage it. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know if this is my thinking. It was something like that where it's like, what the hell, might as well. And so I read some like chapter summaries. I don't even know what I did. Showed up at the thing, and the teacher goes, she's passing out the final. She goes, who are you? And I go, oh, my name's Drew Carey. I'm in your class. And she goes like this. She goes, all right.
All right.
What's the test?
And how'd you do on it?
I flunked it.
No, really? Really?
Yeah, I'll never forget it.
Look who's watching.
I'm in your class.
Look who's watching.
All right. There you go. Boom.
So the real Bob James says this session is brilliant.
What did he ask? I didn't see the question.
He didn't have a question. He said, good to see old Drew. Good to see old you, Davo. You're helping a lot of people, guys. Bob was the real Bob James on the Big 1220 WGAR in Cleveland. He's the reason I'm in radio. And he was the guy that created the Cleveland Comedy Company that Drew and I met on working on television on Channel 5.
It's always really funny on the air.
He's very funny guy. And he writes scripts now. He writes film scripts. They're awesome. I've been in like maybe 8 of his movies. He's a teacher. He is a professor of mass communications. He's retired now. His wife, Edie, was Teacher of the Year in Tennessee. And I don't know if I'm getting that right, but she was Teacher of the Year either for her school or for her school district or for the entire state. I have no idea. I don't know.
Just think how the world would be different if they had mass communication in Israel in 4 BC.
In what?
Nothing. It was a reference to Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Israel 4 BC had no mass communication. Don't get me wrong. Anyway, hi.
See you later. Many of the people are asking, do you miss acting? You were just on NCIS, weren't you?
Yeah. Not really. No,
I don't miss acting.
I like it when I can do it. I'm one of these people, because I get asked questions like that, like, do you miss the Drew Carey show and stuff? I like what I'm doing when I'm doing it. So when I'm doing Price is Right, I don't think to myself like, man, I wish I was acting, or, oh, I wish I was doing something. I really like doing Price is Right. And when I'm doing stand-up, I really like doing stand-up. I don't think to myself like, man, I wish I was doing something else. I just like doing what I'm doing when I'm doing it. And Price is Right pays the bills, and it's easy to do for me now, and I get the most joy. I get so much joy out of doing that show.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond anything else, it's just so much fun going to work and talking to the crowd and being around people. I miss that right now. But no, I don't miss it. I like it when I can do it. And I'm only so good at it. I think I could be way better, but man, that's another like super competitive field.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to, like, people that are not in show, it's really a dog eat dog, like really tough business to be in. There's a lot of people that they think it's just like easy money coming in, but your competition is everybody you see on TV and movies and everything else. So, I mean, it's fun act. It's a thing that I enjoy doing when I'm doing it. But then you look at everybody else on TV that are actors that are so good, even like bit players or like people you see that just are character actors and think that they're so good at what they do. And like, I'm not on that level at all. Like, I could do okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm terrible. I can do okay, and I can do better than okay if I'm really in the moment. And I bet if I did it a lot, I could be a lot better. But I don't do it that often to be great. And then there's people out there that are great, that can be great at the, flip of a switch. So who needs me? It's that whole theory again. Who needs you?
Well, when you're ready, Howard Fine. That's who I recommend. I credit him with any of the success that I've had in acting. It has been, with his training. And there are all these teachers in our lives that's why we're here today. And we're going to wrap this up. I know Drew's waiting to go and do whatever the rest of his day that he normally does.
Yeah, I have 200 crossword puzzles.
I see. All right, great.
A book I'm reading.
So thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. And thank you for watching. Please know that the course is available right now. It's called teachyourcourseonline.com. Again, I put it together to help teachers who were sent home from school with no knowledge, no background on how to set up at home and teach from home, to help them look better, sound better, be able to express themselves better on camera, on mic, set up their lights, set up their space, use Zoom and all that. It's all in the course.
Yeah, and I'll bet beyond teaching, since it's free and you got time, I'll bet even if you're just a business person having Zoom meetings online or leading a meeting, sales meeting, marketing meeting, all that kind of stuff, you still have to get points across and sell your ideas.
Sure.
And teach the system or whatever it is in the company, like this is how we're going to market this product, and teach everybody that. And just learning about that kind of stuff, setting up lights and wardrobe and stuff, it'll be like, there's so many horror stories online that are funny about people using like bad backgrounds in their Zoom meetings, or that poor lady that went to the bathroom and she didn't know her camera was on, that went around. Millions of people have seen now.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff would come in. It's like, this is the kind of thing that's like a good cross-training thing, no matter what kind of business you're in. If you're using Zoom and if you have to work from home in any capacity, like something like this you can get some pretty invaluable tips from something like this.
Yep. There's a hashtag that Google is really promoting called #teachfromhome. And it's trending on Twitter right now. If you guys could repost this URL and add the hashtag #teachfromhome, I would like to hijack that hashtag. But it's going to reach the people that really need this. And I want to remind you, as we wrap things up one last time, remember, you may not see because it's largely hidden. It's happening with kids at their homes and teachers at their homes and no cameras around. You don't see the massive amounts of teaching going on every day from home to homes. You see absolutely the other frontline workers, the heroes, the doctors, the nurses, the fire, the ambulance drivers, the police, the food workers, the grocery workers, the people. I mean, the list is endless of the people that are essential workers. Don't forget, teachers are essential frontline workers, and I would argue in terms of managing our kids and their lives and their future, they are first responders in a very special way.
Well, there's no doubt the more educated a society is, the better off the society is. So,
Drew, thank you so much. I so appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. It's nice seeing you all.
Yeah.
It was nice chatting with you, man.
Yeah.
Good seeing your face for 2 hours.
Good. Yeah, it really was. All right. Please share. Please give us a like. If you have any further questions, I'll be watching the comment stream after we end here in a moment. So if you're seeing this on the recording, and I should have mentioned this earlier, but if you're seeing this on the recording, you can still add comments to the stream and it'll show up and I'll get notified of it. And if there's questions, I'll try my best to answer it, but please go to teachyourcourseonline.com and share that link with others. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye, Drew.
Thanks. See you, man. Bye.